This is definitely not a video I ever thought that I would be making. About 10 months ago at this point, I put out a video talking about why I wasn't going to give Marathon a chance. And honestly, it was coming from a pretty resentful Destiny 2 player at that point. I kept seeing devs from my favorite game getting pulled off and moved on to a game in a genre that I absolutely had zero interest in. Now, Destiny's in a really rough spot. We just got news the mid-season update is delayed by 3 months, which pretty much pushes it against the next expansion window. So at this point, Destiny feels like it's in limbo, and none of us really know what the future of that game is going to look like. And in my head, it's hard not to connect some of that back to Marathon. But that's not what this video today is really about. What I actually want to talk about is how this game has somehow grabbed me by the balls, and I'm actually having a genuinely fantastic time with it, regardless of what the rest of the internet is saying. Something I never thought I was going to be saying in 2026. So why exactly did I reverse course after basically declaring that I'm not giving this a chance? And the honest answer to that is, over the past few weeks, the gameplay that Bungie has shown just looks miles better than what we were seeing when the alpha was out. In the alpha, I wasn't a fan of the art style at all. But now, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a graphics overhaul, a lighting pass, whatever. But the game actually looks physically stunning. And the gunplay also looks way more refined than it did a year ago. And I honestly think that delaying this game was the best move they could have made. And weirdly enough, I also think Arc Raiders pulling new people into the extraction shooter genre is going to help Marathon in ways as well. I'm one of those people. If Marathon launched right next to Arc Raiders, though, I never would have touched this game. So the delay was a really good idea. One thing that has surprised me the most so far is how few and far between PvP fights are in the game so far. And I know this is actually one of the biggest criticisms that I've seen online, is that there's not really enough PvP. But I'm not going to lie, for me, it's actually been a pleasant surprise. Based on the marketing leading up to the release of the Server Slam, I really thought that the target audience for this game was going to be the no mic PvP sweats who shoot on site 100% of the time. And we definitely have that in this game. I haven't heard proximity chat used a single time, but that could also be because I know there was a bug with it. But personally, as someone who works a full-time job and just wants to hop on a game and relax, I've really liked the cadence of the game so far. To be fair, we're probably only playing around, I'd say, 8% of the game. So the other maps may rely way more on PvP. But right now, I feel like the PvP versus PvE balance that the game has feels pretty solid for someone like me who really just likes to relax a bit when I play games of this genre. Coming from Destiny, PvE is my go-to for games like this. Don't get me wrong though. Even though I'm a Destiny player, I love PvP games as well. Just usually not PvP games in this type of genre. I generally gravitate towards more stuff like Counter-Strike and even Arc Raiders, because the realism, even though I know it's still a video game, the realism of it is what is really fun for me. Which takes me to my next point. I'm almost never a hero shooter guy either. When Bungie shifted Marathon towards the hero shooter style, I immediately got turned off by that. But so far, at least in the Server Slam, I would say, I think they've done a pretty decent job of actually keeping the abilities from completely taking over fights, because in my opinion, that's what I hate about hero shooters in the first place. I will say, Once we get into the full game, there are some crazy fraction capstones and upgrades that could totally change that feel of the game. But right now I'm happy with the runner abilities and how they don't swing fights the way you would usually see in a hero shooter. Other than, I would say, maybe Recon and Triage, those characters are completely broken at the moment, and if you aren't playing them, I highly suggest you do, because you're putting yourself at a disadvantage, in my opinion. So those are some of the positives that I definitely didn't expect to get out of this game, but that doesn't mean I don't have any negatives as well. Right now, I would say my number one criticism is the PvP TTK. You kill other runners or get killed just way too fast in this game, in my opinion. And I know we're not playing the full game yet, but when people are running around later in the full release with max shields, stacked builds, just better gear in general, maybe it will feel different. But if Bungie is trying to balance the TTK of the game from a top-down approach, working from the highest level shield, I'm worried it's going to be a real miserable experience for anyone who isn't geared at that point when you run into someone like that. If you're new or broke, it's just going to be impossible to fight a stacked squad that, is the typical PvP sweat. My other big concern is the wipe system. So I'm still pretty new to extraction shooters. Arc Raiders was my first experience in the genre, and a huge reason why I got into Arc in the first place was because of the lack of wipes. I always wanted to try Escape from Tarkov because I thought the gunplay looked good, but the wipe system was the deterrent for me there. And it's mainly because as a looter shooter player, I just don't really get the loop of extraction games like this. I don't understand the point of going in, grinding, and collecting all this loot if you're just going to lose it on a wipe cycle of every 2 to 3 months, even if you don't use it. From my perspective, in Destiny right now, my vault is actually completely full. All 800 slots of it, and I'm not going to delete any of it unless I get something new to take something out. That's really just how my brain works with games like this, playing over 10 years of Destiny. So it's hard for me to fully buy into a system where your progress just gets reset on a schedule. That's one reason I think Arc did something really smart with the expedition system. It kind of has wipes a little bit, and there's a benefit to participating, but if you're like me and you want to keep your loot, you can still do that. And I'm not saying that Arc's expedition systems are perfect either. I think the rewards should be more beneficial to the people who do that, but that's a different topic altogether. So with all that being said, am I going to buy the game? And I know, I'm just some random person on the internet, it doesn't matter. I get it. But right now, I'm still not entirely sure. A lot of it depends on what the end game of it actually looks like. Are the end game maps going to be super PvP heavy, more PvP focused? Because really, if it turns into a 24/7 sweatfest, I'm probably out, to be honest. But if they do stuff on the maps that feels like Destiny style events, like raids, big PvE encounters, objectives that actually take teamwork, then I honestly think this game could be really special. I would say another huge factor is my friend group. If my friend group's in, I'm way more likely to be in as well. And right now, most of them don't even want to touch the game. Mainly because they think it's going to be a constant sweatfest every match, because that's the reputation this game had going in. Very casual, and Arc Raiders is a perfect place for casuals. So they're probably just going to stick to that. That's kind of my main point here. I mean, I've seen so much over the past 2 days of just people just dumping all over Marathon. And I was one of them 10 months ago. I didn't even want to give this game a chance. And I would say if you have super strong opinions on Marathon, whether it's positive or negative, I honestly think that you should at least try it before you fully lock in your take. Because, like I said, 10 months ago, I hated hearing the word marathon come out of Bungie's mouth because I knew what it was going to do to my favorite game. But after just 2 days of the server slam, I can't lie, I really do see some potential in this game, even though it might pain me to say that a little bit. I really just don't know yet if that potential is aimed towards a gamer like myself. With that being said, if you're going to have a strong opinion either way, I'd say at least try the game first.